Hello.
Hi.
Hello. We don't exist.
So we do the streams based on UTC time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to the workshop. Hey, I've got a way to deal with this.
Ah.
So what do you think of the new studio, by the way? Does it look good? Who likes the studio?
I'm raising my hand, can't you see?
Did that work?
Did it?
Oh. No!
You hit me?
Oh well. Oh, it's because there's 2 screenshots in the way! I moved the wrong preview!
You hit me with... I'm hidden.
Oh.
I don't exist.
Sorry, Ryuvi. I need to bring Ryuvi back! Ryuvi, where are you? There we go.
I exist now. Yay.
Well, welcome to the workshop, guys. Thanks for the tier 1. Tatsu and Pam Pam with the 5 gifts. Thank you very much. Woo. We appreciate that so much. So yeah, we're here with the workshop. It's Wednesday. And we're actually on the wrong overlay, I just noticed. There we go. Let's get that correct.
Yay.
I just noticed I actually put on the default overlay because I'm so used to doing that.
Oh.
Well, at least you got the new one, though. That's good.
Yeah. Nice and minimal.
Yeah, we've gone all minimal now. So, today we're going to be covering permissions, mostly world stuff, and how to set those up. And Ryuvi here and Aegis are going to be taking care of you guys, showing you how to do it. No, there's still a chat replay, bottom right corner. We did put that back in on this version. So yeah, I'm going to hand you over now to Aegis, who is going to go show you how this is all done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So go on right ahead, Aegis.
Whee!
So, main reason why we stuck with this topic in the first place is this is something incredibly important for users to know.
Yes.
For their own safety and their own fine-tuning for an experience as well. As say if you're not only just having like a social world and you don't want people, building stuff in it, or you have a building world, you want to fine-tune the permissions for certain users. Hell, even game world, you can set certain permissions for different users to have specific permissions for interacting with things in the world, and even including unique or not unique, specific avatars as well too.
Yes.
And bleeding over into the other topic we covered earlier.
Yep, and I think the very first thing we can cover is available on the Sessions menu on your dash, which, of course, is a little hard to show it, so we have some screenshots here. Permissions, the permissions that are available in the Sessions panel on the Permissions tab, which is up at the top there, it allows you to change what role a specific kind of user is when they join your session. The 4 roles being anonymous, visitor, contact, and host. Anonymous is an unregistered user, and by default the permissions for world are set so that they're spectator, and that means that they are governed by the rule, the permissions level for the spectator, which we'll get to after we finish this. Visitor is a registered user who isn't on your contacts list. On the host contact list, I should clarify. Contact is a person who is on the host contact list, and the host is the host of the world. The exception to that being, I believe, the owner of the world who always has full permission, at least when they open it themselves. Whereas if someone else opens the world and they're not the owner of that specific world, then they abide by the host permissions. Which is useful if you have a special world where you don't want anyone to build or change it, you can set all of their permissions to not be builder, or to be anything less than builder, and there you go. Here you can also change anyone's permission level per user in the current session, and with the screenshot taken, you'll notice that these permission levels are cleared out. That's because are grayed out like this instead of being actual buttons, because when the screenshot was taken, the host of the world has the permissions set so that I think only administrators can change other people's permission level, which you can change that as well, which we'll get to next.
Now, the middle tab of the session menu is the user lists. So it shows, well, essentially the users that are within a session world, and on the left you see their name and common badges right next to it. So you can always check what kind of badges each user has within there too. So because I know people definitely do like put in their own custom badges and such, but to ensure what kind of badges each user has, you can always check there, and you can even see who's the host there too.
Yes, it also shows you when a user, who the host is, as well as if a user is away. It's kind of hard to tell, but if a user is away, their name will be in italics.
Yes.
And one thing to note about the badges here is if someone is, if on the off chance that someone decides to do a bad and impersonate staff members and such, you can always tell who a real staff member is by checking the badges on the session panel, because those will always be correct and show you who is and who isn't, say, in this case, a staff member.
The next part here, these sliders are local volume sliders, local to you. Say if your microphone is a bit loud or a bit quiet, I can just simply adjust that individually for each user, as well as there's a mute button as well too that comes in handy. Now this next button here, jump, it simply is a way where I can jump to specific users in a instance. So I can jump to Ryuvi and jump me towards there, or I can jump to Wraith. And I can probably jump to the headless. Oh wait, I can't. Okay, interesting. And Wraith is invisible, so yeah.
Yeah, don't mind just teleporting to a ghost.
Yes.
Jump is useful if you know you want to get to someone across the map and you just want to get there, and it'll send you straight to them, wherever they are.
And respawn is self-explanatory as well, and that can be unlocked or locked depending on the permission level as well too.
I believe jump
Same
can
with
as
the
well.
jump. Yes, jump silence, kick, and ban, those are all features that can be locked behind permission levels.
Mhm.
So I can respawn myself, respawn others. So I'll just, I'm sorry, Ivy.
The next button, Silence, allows you to silence users, but as you'll notice here, since I don't have, well, when this was taken, you can only silence folks who I believe are a permission level at or below your current permission level, if you don't have permissions, of course, you can always silence yourself if you wanted to, which is the same as muting.
It is grayed out for me,
Hmm.
myself.
Let me check on my own panel. Huh. Well, I can...
So because you respawn me, you can just...
that's right. I
or
forgot
I
you...
respond you, you can just
Yeah.
silence me to see if it works, and I'm just going to continue talking and talk about, because you're going to test the
Well,
button, and
Silencing work?
does it work?
Or
Did it
silence?
work?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a very handy feature.
And the last two sets of buttons, the kick and ban, kick simply kicks the user out of the session. They get one back if they have another invite to it. They
Mhm.
cannot use previous invites that they have gotten before that kick.
Mhm. And
So-
ban, of course, is if you need to rid someone from your session permanently. Well, until you clear the ban, that is, ban does it.
Yep. Should we? Yeah, we should definitely show where the ban is. I should have took a picture of it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's... I guess since we don't have a screenshot and showing a bans list is generally not good public information, where you can find your local ban list, I'm...
Okay, so what we can do here is I can go and switch this over to me for a moment. And if I go render private UI, you can see here the ban list. And on the far right hand side of this debug dialog, you have bans. On here, you can remove the ban from the user. That's where that's all done. So I'll hand you back over now to Aegis and Ryuvi.
There's the chat.
Okay. The users tab is handy, and it fills up with users as the session goes along. You can always tell who the host is because, well, they've got their little host crown. Now, the General Settings tab for the session involves general session settings, including, if you have the ability to do so, changing the world name, its description, getting the world and session orb, and saving it, as well as changing who can join the world, whether people get auto-kicked, and auto-saving and cleaning up unused assets, as well as a handy-dandy edit mode toggle if you ever need that. Yeah, edit mode.
I am not sure if this is visible or not. Is edit mode visible? Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because there's the function in the camera where it just hides normal lasers. So, yeah, basically whenever you can turn on edit mode, you can either do a hand gesture or click the checkbox there.
And edit mode is also...
on controllers.
And the edit mode toggle is also something you can control with permissions.
Yes, because there's some other features that... shit, where is it? Oh, that feature is also probably locked behind a permission as well, too. Developer mode.
Dev mode? Oh, that's only on dev tips, yes. Which is a mildly dangerous mode, but...
Well, that answers my question. Okay, good.
Okay. Well, Also, I should mention that changing the world name and description, I believe, are always locked behind the host. Maximum users, I believe, can also be changed in permissions. We'll look at that. Now, world save options, by default, when you publish a world, for example, and you have builder or admin permission, or just admin, excuse me, by default, the permission allows where folks can save a copy of said world. You can change that so that people can't save a copy of the world if you don't want people saving their own local copy of whatever world it is. As administrator and as host, that is. Did we miss anything, or do you think we need to cover anything in more depth, Aegis?
Not anything in particular in regards of these menus. There's other things that can be covered down the line for specific things, like, say, the developer mode and hand gestures and stuff like that.
One thing I did want to mention
topic for another day.
One thing I did want to mention that I just remembered is if you have auto kick enabled and you have users set to administrator, any users set to the administrator permission level ignore the auto AFK kick, so administrators will never get auto kicked from a world.
And it works like a regular kick too, so you will need another invite to that world if we get kicked.
Yes. Now, on to the changing these permissions for the world. This can be done in any world by going to the roles slot, which is in every single world, under the root. And underneath this are categorized the permissions for each permission level, all the way from spectator to builder to non-admin, which non-admin encapsulates the permission level for every role except for admin. And underneath each of the slots, let's go to non-builder, for example, we have permission components, like common tool permissions, grabbable permissions, touchable permissions, and so on. And these permissions allow you to change how things behave with permissions for each role. And we can see here that non-builder permissions, for each of these components, we have the permissions listed, or the levels listed here, the roles, and these two that it applies to are green. Now, since none of us are the host, we can't go and change these permissions because only the host of the world can do so. But you can set this specific component and these permissions in it to apply to whatever roles you want. They'll be green when they're enabled for that specific role. Well, let's see. There are a handful of permission components which we will get to, but I think while we're on the topic of permissions, one thing to go over would be specific spectator permissions, because sometimes in a world you want spectators to interact with some things, because by default spectators can interact with not much at all, if anything. Most common use case for this is for spectators to turn on a mirror, which is local and it hurts nothing. And you can do that if we check the spectator permission. And let's see. We have touchable permissions. And here we can add, we have the mode, it's set tags, and the mode is set to whitelist. We can add to the list here. Well, I can't because I'm not the host. That demonstrates that. But you can add a tag there, and you can enter in a tag. If you say, as for example, if we have the tag set to spectator, then any object with that tag on it, users of role spectator will be able to interact with it. And by tag, what I mean by that is I need to get myself a dev tip because I was respawned. If we open up any object in an inspector, at the top here, we have, of course, its name, its parent, and everything, but there's also a tag. And this tag you can place in anything, for instance, spectator. And if this tag here, the spectator tag, is whitelisted under the touchable permissions list, then anyone with the spectator role will be able to interact with this, anything on this hierarchy. even if they can interact with nothing else. So you can selectively choose the things that people can interact with and how, based on touchable permissions, grabbable permissions, and etc. Ah, limiting users to specific locomotions is done with locomotion permissions. By default, it's set to blacklist, and there's nothing on the list, so all locomotion modules are available. But if instead you want to limit users to a specific locomotion, you can change this to a whitelist, add the locomotion that you would like for them to be limited to.
And you can have
Then-
multiple.
Yes, you can have more than one. Also, under this locomotion permission, you can also change the minimum and maximum scale, so you can prevent people from getting too small or too large. By default, there is no limit, but it's sometimes useful. And I think A just shrunk himself to an atom. Can you come back? Well,
Loading point.
we also have voice permissions, which allow you to change the maximum allowed voice mode for that specific role. For spectators in this case, their maximum voice mode is normal, meaning they can't go into shout or broadcast.
Broadcast.
Broadcast, ooh. Of course, you can change this. We also have camera permissions, which allows folks to, I believe, work with stream cameras and photos and such. And we have general world permissions here as well, which, going back to what we were talking about earlier with allowing users to save the world, that is located under world permissions for, I believe, Builder. Yes. So, in specific, under the Builder permissions category, with the world permissions component, there is a save copy permission option here, which by default, this is set to only when public. So, when the world is publicly open, then anyone who is Builder or above can save a copy of the world. You can also change this to only owner, so that only the owner can save copies of the world and no one else can, if that's something you'd like to do. We also have a question, actually, about the scale setting. Does that set their scale if they spawn in too small or large? And I do believe so. It limits the minimum and maximum scale. Yeah, I'm not entirely 100%. Yes.
Remember when you spawn into a world and you were like reset as your normal size, like normal human size, rather than like your
Yes,
you are now?
that's because I was such a spectator in that world. Yes. So, actually, what is the minimum scale? Oh, 0. And I recall previously joining a world where, I'm smaller. My user scale is 0.78. And when I joined the world, I was spectator because they were working and they didn't want people interrupting them. So I joined in, and they had their minimum scale set to 1 for spectators. So I joined in, and even though my default scale is set to 0.78, that's smaller than the minimum allowed. So therefore, I became the minimum allowed scale, which was 1. And it applies for large scales as well. Let's see. Right, the various components. So there's a whole handful of components here, but if you want to see a list of all of them, or if you want to set up your own permissions and not use the defaults, which you can delete them, I only recommend deleting. You can't. Okay, I stand corrected. Oh, well, I'm talking to a ghost.
Yeah, as far as I know, you actually can't delete permissions. The only way permissions can get deleted is by a bug that destroys permissions that's on a headless, and sometimes when saving worlds.
Okay. Well, that's why I was misunderstood. So no, you can't delete the permissions, but you can append to them. And to do that, say on guest permissions, there's very little things here on guest permissions. But say we wanted to have special conditions for guest, we can attach component, and there is a special category, permissions, which lists you all of the various permission components, all the way from avatar object permissions, grabbable permissions, user permissions, and world permissions. Now, since once before, none of us are the host, so we won't actually be able to add new permissions or change them. But they're located here for reference. Did I miss anything important? Hmm. Okay, well, more ghosts speak, but we have an interesting thing from Tompox says, voice permissions for the guest role are accidentally stored in the moderator permissions. Is that true? That is true, wow.
I recommend making a GitHub for it,
Yes.
because this is something that like is generated by default, so
Yes.
you get to put it on.
It doesn't change anything just because of what slot that the permissions are in. Doesn't change it. It's just for organizational purposes. But yeah. We have a question from Seeker. It says, what's screen view permissions? Desktop mode stuff? And I do believe so. Let's go look at the component. Screen view permissions. View photos. Oops. This isn't the component I haven't messed with very much, but it looks like it deals with what you can view in screen mode, including, I believe, what you can attach your freeform camera to, but don't quote me on that because I need to look more into that myself. I wonder if, are these documented on the wiki? If not, well, if they should be. Well, different thing that you should bring up, Aegis. I think we covered most of these permissions. And the general use case, by the way, general etiquette, I think, for these permission roles is if you don't want folks to interrupt what you're doing, use Spectator. If you want to let people spawn things with the default permissions, that is, but you don't want them going and editing the world, use Guest. If you want folks to still be able to spawn things, but not directly edit the world, but also manage other users, use Moderator. If you want folks to just be able to do whatever they please, aside from saving the world and changing world critical options, use Builder. And if you want folks to save a copy of the world, or change higher tier things, or just be able to change the roles of others, use Admin. Of course, you can change these permissions so that these roles can behave any way you like, but the default permissions, that's how that applies. Complex asks, is there anyone actually using the moderator role? I've seen folks use it a couple of times, and it's useful for when it is used. What'd you say, Aegis?
Was one thing I think we should cover too that is more specific. Was under Spectator, maybe? Actually, yeah. Add avatar. What was the one where it would force the user into a specific avatar? Was it avatar object?
That, I believe, is either avatar object permission, and I believe that's also controlled under the controllers, the Locomotion, the avatar builder component. Which, that's something we could cover as well, because that also deals with the permissions.
Yes, and we can get a...
So,
I'll get a sample avatar real quick.
So, underneath the controllers slot, which it's called controllers by default, we have a component which is the common avatar builder. And this component changes, allows you to set custom avatar templates, and it allows you to choose what gets set up whenever a user spawns, including name badges, icon badges, voice, locomotion modules, among other things. Like, for instance, say you're in a world and it's more of a game world and you don't want folks to have their tool shelves, you can disable them here, and anyone who spawns will not have their tool shelves generated. Now, what this also allows you to do is it allows you to set a avatar template so that anyone who joins in the world will use a specific avatar, and you can choose this for what role it applies to, including everyone, only the host, and only guests, and you can have multiple as well.
This is implying it picks it from random because of the weight. Oh, that's interesting. Didn't really notice that.
You can also check block cloud avatar so that it won't try and load a user's cloud avatar and this avatar at the same time. Which you can also just uncheck load cloud avatars if you don't want any custom avatars to load upon spawn, aside from the custom avatar templates you have saved into the world, of course. Now, on the same note of this, a very nice thing here is the auto inject slot, which here you can place any slot that you like with anything on it, and anytime a user spawns or respawns, this auto inject slot will get added to their user root. Useful for custom logics or custom locomotion modules, things like that. And custom radio menu items as well. Like you have a radio menu that allows you to control specific local world settings. You'd want everyone to have that radio menu, and instead of doing custom logics and checking when someone spawns and auto-injecting it, you can just use the auto-inject feature that the Common Avatar Builder has built in.
It's a good reminder, though, too.
Here you can also change the Locomotion modules slot, which by default is underneath the controllers, which contains the Locomotion modules. You can change this to another slot if you have other Locomotion modules that you want, custom ones, etc. You can also force a default Locomotion module for anyone who joins, regardless of what they have it set previously. Like, if someone joins in Teleport, they'll be in Teleport. Whereas if you want everyone to be in, say, Physical Locomotion, you can set it there and they'll load in as that. And there's a few, there are a few items here that I haven't used, but their names are pretty self-explanatory, like parent clients to server. I believe that parents everyone to host. And empty avatar handler. I don't know if we can do much with that. I'm sure the wiki has information. Another thing to note with this component, since we're on the topic of this, is at the very bottom, there's a button which says Update Locomotion Modules on Present User. This is if you change anything about the various Locomotion modules. They don't update for everyone automatically, but if you click that button, then the Locomotion modules for every user will update, and the changes you make will apply.
I will just add to that, by the way, that the Update Locomotions button does not actually work on a headless. Yeah, so you actually have to force people to respawn in that case. That's
interesting. I did not know that. No, the more you know.
Well, I just updated the Locomotion.
Oh, we're on a headless, so it won't update.
Oh, yeah.
No worries.
Good point.
The concept is there.
Yes.
Which we want to demonstrate. Custom avatar template. I can respawn. Basically, all you do to set an avatar template, by the way, is you grab the root of the avatar and you place it on the template root in the component. And let's set this to anyone. So now, if I respawn, I'm a tiny little iBot. Hello, and I am this avatar by default. It prevents loading of my cloud avatar, although you can still see my trackers. Now, if I want to load into my usual avatar, I have to either load it manually, or we can just get rid of this because I don't think we want everyone loading in as little golden iBots. Although that would be pretty funny.
I froze for a bit. There we go.
Oh, I saw that. Okay. Well, in terms of general permissions, I believe that covers most use cases and most things. For the sake of self-moderation, I definitely recommend, if you have a world where you're working, I definitely recommend keeping tab on what permissions the lower roles have, like spectator and guest, so that you don't have people coming in and messing up your work, for example. Of course, we do have moderators on the platform, but self-moderation is something we encourage because you're the host of the world. You make the rules of said world, as long as they're within the guidelines, of course. And we recommend you self-moderate. Okay. I don't think we have any questions so far.
I mean, we only got like 26 minutes left, so...
I was going to say, we don't seem to have too many questions, actually.
Yeah.
I should put the camera back on there.
Oh, there you go.
And do this. There we go.
They exist.
Yep. I love that little tool.
It's lovely.
Yeah, camera visibility tool, so good. I was using that just if people were wondering how I was hiding, I was using a camera visibility tool which hid me from the cameras.
Which that's located, I believe, in the miscellaneous folder in Essential Tools. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's a little blue thing.
Well, if you have any questions about permissions or anything else, now's the time to ask.
I was going to say, we did manage to cover quite a lot there in such a short time. Which is quite good, but...
Actually, I don't think this will be a two-parter at this point.
No.
Nope. We've covered everything.
It's a half-parter. we pretty much covered everything there in 30 minutes because we started the stream 5 minutes into the timer anyway.
Actually, another thing that just popped into my mind about avatars too, like not only if you say have a default avatar, but you don't want random avatars selected, you can basically either have logics to, depends on how you want to have a user select an avatar, but you can use logics to force a user into an avatar on an event, whether it be a button press or a game event or so.
To answer your question, Emerald, on that one, a cloud avatar is basically the avatar you have set to a default.
Your favorite avatar in your inventory.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So,
like this avatar, or that avatar.
So basically, whichever one you have highlighted on your UI like that. Which has been set with the heart button.
Do you know, if you don't have an
cloud
avatar favorited, you'll load in as the default avatar, head and hands.
Dwaggy Morph. Wow, that's awesome! I look forward to seeing that. Game Worlds are awesome.
Yes.
But yeah, as I say, we haven't had that much to cover, which has been sort of good in a way. As I say, we can't show everything because, we are on a headless and some of that stuff is locked behind host permissions.
And I do know that Pro Ball Prime has covered that in a tutorial video as well.
Yes, he has.
Especially the things that were mentioned before about setting the spectator tag. And I do ask, actually, that people do that. Any components, like mirrors, or even video players, especially ones that have local volume control, make sure they are done like that. What is the GMT/UTC time for the Friday streams, so I can be certain? As of right now, it is 10. It's 2200 UTC at the moment. The streams are starting because Nexlin does them based on his local time. So I would say be prepared at 2200 UTC.
Daylight savings time is so confusing.
At least for this Friday. Then after this Friday, they'll go back to the normal 2300 UTC. The workshop times don't move. They are always on UTC.
Yep, makes it easy for everyone.
Yeah, so next week, for me, it'll be done at 11 PM rather than 10 PM. So I need to remember that. Because I actually got online and I messaged Ryuvi at just before 9 PM and I said, hey, are we starting the stream in half an hour? And Ryuvi's like, no, we're doing it on UTC. And I'm like, great. Yeah, I'm not a fan of daylight savings either, so that's why I wanted this stream specifically to be in UTC. I mean, everything else we do is in UTC. It's like our staff meetings are in UTC. Whenever we do meetings, they're all in UTC. We use hammer time.
Hammer time.
Yeah.
We actually have an interesting thing brought up by Thumbfox. The avatar template for the common avatar builder can be set inactive, which is the active set to false, because when the template is spawned, the active will be enabled. Good to know.
Yeah, that's interesting to know. What's this? Anyone in favour of DST needs to be forced to write code which supports DST no matter, yeah. Duff. Lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I know, at least here in the U.S., we finally have like a Senate unanimous agreement. Yeah, let's get rid of daylight savings time. So I'm
to be honest,
happy for that.
it's an old thing now. It's not really needed like it used to be.
Yep.
Because it was there for the benefit of the farmers, especially to do with the light, of how much light they got during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So, tell you what, let's do that. There we go. Let's clear that off behind us.
I don't know why it didn't even phase me that I had a clear all button, but I guess today I learned.
You didn't know there was a clear all button at the bottom?
I didn't even phase me.
Wait, was it even clipped out? Or, oh, whoops. Hold on. Oh, you can still see it? Okay.
Yeah, it's always been
red
visible.
And blue.
It's always been
Maybe they're just
visible, it's just
blind.
always been hidden behind Ryuvi and Ryuvi's massive wings. It's a pain. It's a pain in the backside. But anyway, if nobody's got any more questions now, we are going to start tying up the stream. Oh, we've just been raided by Innocent Thief.
Oh boy.
Thanks for the raid, Thief. That's six people. Hello, 6 people. Welcome to the end of the Neos workshop.
Oh, a little late.
It will be uploaded on YouTube afterwards.
Yeah, we are,
About, like,
as I say, every
24
single workshop now has been put onto YouTube, but they are indexed on a nice little playlist. I wish there was an easier way to make houses in Neos. I hate Blender. Well, we did do a, we actually still need to go over fully procedural meshes.
Yes. Well, we did go over the basics of procedural.
Yeah.
We can go over more advanced procedural mesh stuff, though.
Yeah. Japanese
Meshes.
builder tooltip. There is actually, there is a really nice tooltip by the Japanese community that's like a snapper and everything like that. We can't cover basic primitives.
No.
We can't do primitive materials and all that in 20 minutes. I can tell you that now. That's at least a 2 or 3 parter. So yeah.
At some point, we're going to be covering the really big multi-part, which is UIX, but that's later.
No, UIX.
Did you say UIX?
Mm-hmm. That'll be a fun one. Fun set of... bye. Yeah, well, I mean, that's my purview.
here's how Ryuvi's going to do UIX, Aegis.
Oh.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, I'll do UIX now.
Yeah, the way Ryuvi will do UIX will be on their own. Especially not with me. I don't have a clue.
Oh, that's my builder tip. Yeah. Oh, I need to finish that concept. You know, the person brought up that they wanted an easy way to make houses. I'm actually working. I might as well show it off here. Is I'm working on a tooltip which allows you to very very accurately place blocks on a grid of your choosing, as you can see, just messing with. I really want to get this finished up because I feel like it would be a very useful tool for folks.
The Neolander ring would also work well. UIX is super easy when you get into it. I hate UIX.
That's why I do it.
Every single thing I've ever made that's been UIX, Ryuvi's made.
I have become mages.
I mean, technically radio menus are UIX, so...
Yeah,
yeah, true.
Wow. Look what's going on with my right controller was going really weird then. What the hell?
Huh.
Oh, hang on. There's the curve of my desk. That's why I was totally facing away from my base stations.
Ah, ooh, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Oh, now my hip tracker's getting messed up. What's happening?
Oh no, it's the curse of the trackers. Do you know, this looks like we've got a 3D printer now.
You designed a 3D printer. And I'll just...
There we go.
Hide. I mean, I can try and hide, but it doesn't work that well.
There we go. I printed something.
There.
Wow.
There we go.
Oh yeah, that was also made with... It just made a generator using primitives. Which, are those available in your folder
My
in
public
Essential
folder,
Tools?
yes. Yes. Wanted to make multiple tools where people can use it to create multiple different things.
I've got a just ahead for
Look,
Wraith.
Mom, I'm on the workshop.
Ooh. Silly. Very silly.
You have to be.
This is true.
You have to be silly to work here.
Oh, there goes the game.
The curse of the table.
It,
The snap building that I'm used to working with is mainly with Halo's Forge mode. The ladder builds where at first, like, you can adjust, like, objects by increments in regards of, like, units, and then they added an actual snapping system later on, so you can, like, snap pieces together in predetermined points.
Oh, God. The trackers are so erratic that they should be renamed to Fast Tracker 2. Yeah, but they need to play music when you move. Wop, 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 wop. Wop, 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 bum. Bum, ba, bum, ba, 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 bum.
well, in that case, whenever my trackers mess up, I'll be very loud in the world. They play music.
God, that'd be
I have a
horrible.
lot of trackers.
That'd be the worst thing. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna hit this on the head now. Thanks all for watching. As usual, we are not streaming next week. We are taking our day off.
And
The Mass Nation just asked, where can I find that tooltip?
that is currently not publicly released, but once I get it really solidified and everything, that will be available in my public folder.
Yeah, so there we go. We'll be
Also,
back. Go on.
we're also going to be opening the world as we usually do for an hour after.
Yep.
So feel free to come by and visit and ask questions or just hang out.
Exactly. Thanks all for watching. We will return on Friday with the main stream with Nexalon. I do believe, actually, we're doing games this Friday. Games of the MMC.
Ooh,
So that
that'll be
should
nice.
be really cool. We're going to go over some of the really cool games that have been released during the MMC. Also, big, massive shout out to our MMC winners as well, because we haven't had a chance to do that yet. You guys rock!
Absolutely
There's a
amazing.
lot of amazing entries in
There
there.
really was a lot of amazing entries this year. This one's been fantastic. Hey, Rack. Bye, Rack. But yeah, as I say, we will be back next week. No, we won't be back next week. We'll be back in a fortnight.
No, next week.
So, what date is that? Let's have a look. Jeez.
Be April.
We'll be back on the 6th of April, which is the day after my birthday.
Oh,
Oh,
gonna have to give you a party hat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my birthday on the 5th of April.
Ooh, happy early birthday.
Yeah, no more Neos. Sorry, Neos has been cancelled. That's it now.
Oh.
oh.
Unfortunately, Ryuvi's decided that they're quitting.
Ooh.
And I've had enough. I can't put up with this anymore. And Aegis has run out of ideas. No, we're joking. We'll be... God damn! No, we'll be... As I say, we'll be back in a fortnight. Okay, thanks. Bye, everyone!